Hello, it's Jim Lauterbach here. Super psyched to have you here. We are going to talk today with Bradley Miles, the CEO of Roll, and we're going to explore the future of creators, crypto, and payments in the Web3 world. So, first of all, Bradley, thanks for joining us. Great to have you here.
Really happy to be here, Jim. Thanks for having me. Love the skateboard in the background. Grew up skateboarding.
Yeah, come on, you got to do a little bit of X Games in the background anytime. Keeps me rolling, as it were, no pun intended.
Absolutely.
So to start off, tell me a little bit about Roll and tell me a little bit about what you're building.
Yeah, so I'm just going to rewind maybe 20 years towards the start of online payments and social as well. Everything we understand in that world, we could sort of put in this big bucket of user-generated content, likes, views, videos, sort of accelerating platforms and creators as well. With the advent of blockchain, what we're actually able to do is plug blockchain technology into new platforms and allow creators to not just make content, posts, videos, but actually make their own what we call capital. They could make capital around content. They can make capital around their community. And we really see crypto leading this shift from, the familiar world of user-generated content with tens, hundreds of millions of users to this new world of user-generated capital, where you can create capital around content, which is largely considered, NFTs, and it's going to go on this wild journey. And then capital around community, which has come by and large to be known as social tokens now. And Roll is infrastructure for social tokens. And we utilize Roll, creators utilize Roll to create their own social tokens, which can be sent, spent, traded, or utilized anywhere across the web. So a really good comparison is something like Stripe. You and I can create an e-commerce site right now, just plug into Stripe and do payment processing and all this. Or we could utilize something like Shopify and create an online store with all these bells and whistles. Roll, similarly, will power social tokens for both creators and platforms as well. And so we're super excited about this new world. Everything that we've seen happen in social is about to be reborn again in the context of social tokens.
Well, so talk to me a little bit about this sense of a social token and content and community, and how does it enable this new world to happen? And I don't understand the connection yet between kind of how social tokens can be content and how they can be community. So make that link for me.
Sure. So let's take something pretty familiar like Patreon. So Patreon's achieved this massive market of membership, and let's say a creator sets up a Patreon, and all of a sudden, I want to be a patron of that individual. So I'll go on Patreon, I'll subscribe, I'll go through the process. We're all familiar with it. There's something new that blockchain enables, which is scarcity. And so what we're actually able to do, so let's call this creator Jim. And let's say Jim moves from Patreon to having his own social token. Let's say it's powered by Roll. Similar to Bitcoin, having a max supply of 21 million. A lot of people are familiar with Bitcoin and the concept of a max supply there. Let's say Jim creates a social token called Gems. And there's a max supply of 10 million gems. And using a lot of blockchain technology, which some of your listeners may understand a little bit more deeply, as decentralized finance. So tools that could actually give gems a dollar value. So being that there's 10 million gyms in the world, I now have an opportunity as a gym fan to own a percentage of the community. Let's say I own, 10,000 gyms. So at that point, if there's 10 million, gyms in the overall market, and I could say I own roughly like 0.1% of, the entire supply of gyms. And having that sense of belonging, that sense of ownership is very new to the internet. I can't get that sense of ownership by being a YouTube subscriber or a Patreon subscriber or OnlyFans or any traditional social platform that comes out. So this is what we think about with social tokens and this concept of ownership. And this is primarily what we're focused on. When we talk about content as capital, we think that so we have this idea of user-generated capital, and two things are happening: content's becoming capital, and community's becoming capital. So when we think about content as capital, you guys are seeing this huge boom with NFTs becoming art and music and all these different things, and that'll have its own life, and it'll interact with social tokens in an interesting way, and we're brainstorming on the best ways to do that too.
All right, so let's say here I am. I'm Jim. I mean, put aside the fact that 10 million gems is a scary thing. I've got 10 million gem tokens, and I make them available for sale, I guess. So you want to buy one if you're a fan, buy it for $1, right? And I sell 1,000 of them. Who owns the other 9,999,900 and whatever of those tokens? Do I own them? Are they just sitting somewhere? Can I give them to people? Do I have to pay for them?
Yeah, so even before the concept of making a market for gyms and saying, hey, each gym is around this price, there may be people that have contributed to, you becoming GM of VidCon, and you may want to, give back to them in some way. And you may want to make them, co-owners in this community. And through Roll, gyms can really just be sent similar to Coinbase or, any other sort of digital wallet. They could be sent from, one wallet to another. So you may want to say, hey, there's people in my life that I think should be a part of the gym economy, and I want to send them 10,000 gems. I want to send them 1,000 gems. I want to send them 100,000 gems. And so you can do this very freely, right? As easy as you could send, money from one wallet to another, like PayPal. You could do the same thing with Roll. And so you could maybe establish that first. And like, okay, wow. So there's a lot of people that have, a stake in the success of what you're building. And then from there, it's totally up to you to create your own economy. So one thing you can do is, you as the creator of gyms, you can make it so you hold, the majority of gyms over time, and you choose, how liquid it can be on a market. You choose who to deploy it to. You choose, who could buy it per se. And so, at that point, you'll realize, a substantial amount of success in the community, and you're sort of incentivized to do so and build the gym economy because you're a substantial holder in gyms. And then over time, we're seeing in real time, there's a lot of people that are thinking about the idea of how to decentralize this even further. Are there decisions that the community itself can make? And can they vote on those decisions, not using, shares or even Ether or Bitcoin? Can they vote on those decisions using Gym? And would this give Gym itself more value? And these are conversations happening in real time, and we're super excited to be a part of those. So the short answer to your question are, there's a substantial amount of use cases that are forming around access to content, around governance or voting, trading, spending, rewards, and we're building infrastructure for a lot of that.
Yeah, look, it's all about aligning objectives, which I'm a huge believer in. Everything from your personal life to your business life, you want to make sure objectives are aligned so you can actually get stuff done. Let's go back to the concept of me creating 10 million tokens, gym tokens. And first of all, do I have to pay like $1 for each of those? Do I have to give you guys $10 million for those 10 million tokens?
No, not at all. So Roll is a system that's absolutely free. We've been experiencing some wildly successful tokens on Roll, so it'd be foolish of us to say, at the forefront, hey, you got to pay $10.99 a month, to use this. Roll's model right now is just, owning a small stake in each community. So when a community on Roll does well, we experience that benefit in a very, very, very small way as well. And it also allows us to help each community grow over time. So every community on Roll we're all involved in. There's cross pollination, so there's Roll creators working with other Roll creators, just like YouTubers may collab together. Roll creators may collab together as well, but with their money. So that's a very interesting thing that's happening. But yeah, roll's absolutely free to use, and the tools will always be free to use as well.
Okay, so here I am. I've created 10 million tokens, and obviously the first thing I do is I give, I don't know, 10,000 to our producer Fiona because she's responsible for
Yeah.
all this. So now I've got a whole bunch of, I guess, say, I've got every single person who follows me on LinkedIn gets a token. So, however many there are there, let's say there's 20,000. So now I've got 30,000 tokens out there in the wild, right? And they're freely tradable. If I want to do something like, say, the community, hey, community, I'm thinking of taking this show on the road and we're going to do a vid talk from Abu Dhabi. Are you guys down for it? Let's vote. So one token, one vote. Anybody who wants to vote, obviously Fiona gets the biggest vote since she has 10,000 of them. But, everybody gets to vote. And then we all sort of decide on, based on what the vote is, that's what we do. Is that sort of like the way it works?
Yeah, so that's one aspect of governing the gym economy, if you will, through voting. It's not just Jim that's making these decisions. The GM of VidCon, we've actually decentralized the ability for the governing body of VidCon to make these decisions. And you mentioned Fiona having 30,000. Gyms would also be on the market. So every person in the internet has the opportunity to have a stake in the future of VidCon through participating in the market. And even that value proposition we're finding is inherently valuable, right? So there's very few people that leave the decisions of their, company or community up to the internet. And so we're finding the more companies that do this, or as we say, decentralize themselves, they're realizing the inherent value there in real time, which is fascinating. And so that's the governance aspect. What we're seeing time and time again on Roll, so it's actually become the model, is exactly like you said, curating really awesome people. Everyone in the LinkedIn community, Fiona, VidCon people, other creators. But what you've uniquely done is you've curated a set of people that believe in what you're doing. And so if you can get us all in one place and have this brain trust together and actually create a gate to get in, somewhat similar to Patreon, but not about subscription, actually about how many gyms you hold, allowing you to gain access to the community, you have something very special. And so the platform of choice for people currently is Discord. This isn't to say someone watching this can't create another community platform that will completely, disrupt that. But people are creating their own Discords and they're saying, hey, in order to gain access, you actually need to hold a percentage of this token I've created. And we're going to do incredible things. We're going to vote on decisions. We're going to have listening parties. We're going to, do things that the community wants to do. But you need to be a holder. You need to be a stakeholder. And we're finding that, this concept is inherently valuable. So even if it costs 10 gyms to get in, and each gym was now $100, right? So it's $1,000 to get in. I may not be able to afford that, but I could still realize the benefit of it just by holding one or two gyms. Over time, I don't need to have that 10 gym amount in my wallet to get in. I could say, okay, I can't afford this, but I could still hold one or two gyms and realize the gains here. And we're seeing that as well. This whole second order effect of speculation through stakeholdership kind of takes place, and it's fascinating to watch.
So let's say I've got this token out there and I've got a bunch of people who have it and I have a market for it. If somebody wants to buy in, let's say I've got another 100,000 on available for sale, go buy one, anybody. Somebody says they want to go buy one and it's a dollar each. Now, they can't just go up and just plunk down a dollar and all of a sudden take that and put it into their wallet. We'll leave aside the whole concept of a wallet for a minute. Just think of it as a digital wallet that's out there where you put things of value in. It's not just a dollar though. There's actually an additional sort of processing fee or gas that goes along with it. Is that right?
Yeah. So today, the main way we're able to create value is through open source blockchain technology, otherwise called decentralized technology, decentralized exchanges. And so with these exchanges, we can create gyms today, right now, and we can peg it against something else that has value, the digital currency Ether, for instance. Right. And so we can create a market there. And in order to purchase gyms on the Ethereum blockchain, you need to pay fees to utilize the Ethereum blockchain, which would be gas fees. Roll is sort of a layer on top of Ethereum that allows, a nice, comfy, social style ecosystem to exist, but it can still interact with these, wildly interesting and innovative decentralized exchanges. So, very soon we'll have a portal where, you can just use your Visa card, and we'll be able to tell you the amount of gyms, right, the cost of, 10 gyms per se, and you won't need to use your blockchain wallet. You'll just use your credit card, and you'll pay and sort of get your gems. And so you can do it on a blockchain exchange, or you can do it through a credit card.
So if I do it through credit card, do I still have to pay those gas fees or just credit card processing fee?
Yeah, just a credit card processing fee, because the objective is just to get the gems to the user's wallet. Blockchain does that, through from one blockchain wallet to another. But just like Coinbase, you're not directly interacting with the blockchain there. You're interacting with Coinbase and their payment infrastructure. So very soon you'll be able to do the same thing on Roll.
So if I do the same thing on Roll and I buy it with a credit card, is it still getting written to a blockchain somewhere, or is it written to your own infrastructure and not a blockchain, or your own internal blockchain? How does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, so similar to something like Coinbase. So when you buy, Bitcoin or Ether on Coinbase, for instance, you're not directly interacting with the blockchain. You're interacting with sort of Coinbase reserves and, your traditional banking system. But the beauty of that is, I could buy some Ether on Coinbase, then I could eject it and plug it into something, new and innovative like Uniswap. And I can go, use a centralized exchange. You can do this, very soon you'll be able to do the same thing on Roll. So you'll be able to buy 100 gems, on Roll with your credit card, and then eject 100 gems to your blockchain wallet, and use things like OpenSea. So people are plugging their social tokens into their NFT marketplaces. Things like Uniswap, people could buy, sell, trade, and the list goes on.
Cool. I'm going to stop here for a minute, and is there a couple of audience questions as well, and then we're going to move on to some of the more sort of I don't know, we'll move up beyond Gemcoin, because I know everyone loves talking about Gemcoin, but I've got a bunch of other questions as well. But let's start with Dave. So Dave says, is there an ideal audience size or follower size that you need to be successful with something like Roll?
Yeah, so we've had massively successful people come to Roll and build an audience. So Terry Crews comes to mind, probably the most well-known creator on Roll. So he created a social token called Power, which I thought was a pretty good name for him. But there's also people that are somewhat hobbyists. They run a small podcast with 100 followers. They're NFT artists. They just started selling NFTs, and they want to gather their community as well of collectors through their own social token. So really, it's anyone that has a vision. You could almost think about it as something similar to YouTube, right? So someone with a huge audience, Coachella, can jump on YouTube and be wildly successful. But you're seeing in real time, and anyone can just jump on YouTube that has a wonderful idea and gather an audience. That same thing can happen with currency, right? So if you have a very good idea and a vision for your community, there's no reason that folks won't gather around it. But they won't gather around it through subscribing. They'll gather around it through buying and becoming a member of your community in this way.
Yeah, makes sense. Another question here is, and this is from Teresa, how do I make sure I don't limit my audience size if I only have a limited number of tokens? Let's say I only have 10 million tokens, and suddenly I've got 20 million people who are fans. What do I mean, besides going on a world tour, what do I do?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. We haven't encountered anyone yet, 350 creators in, so it's still a very new idea. You could imagine 10,000 people in, like what this will look like. But we haven't seen anyone that said, oh, whoops, I've used all my tokens, and now I have 0 tokens and I don't know what to do. Typically, the creator, and we're very helpful with this, typically the creator holds, a few million units of their tokens, let's say, or a few 100,000 units, and they'll spread the rest out over time. Everyone on Roll right now has a release period for their tokens, believe it or not. So it's not like the lottery where it's, hey, here's 10 million, thanks for playing, good luck. We sort of release it over a period of time. And right now that period of time is 3 years. And so you'll realize that 10 million period over 3 years. But very soon, that amount's totally up to you. And so if you do want all your 10 million tokens in a week or 10 seconds or 10 years, that's going to be totally up to you. But we haven't encountered anyone that's used all their tokens in that way. What's happening right now is people put a lot on the market. So people from Singapore, Abu Dhabi, Wisconsin can all engage and become members of your community in this way.
Yeah, I see myself. I'm like, put out I'll start out with 100,000 tokens, and I'm like, I'm gonna flood the market with the other 9 millions. All of a sudden, the economy drops, and it's kind of like a banana republic currency. I guess I shouldn't do that, but I guess I could if I wanted to play around with it because it's your economy, basically, right? It's your economy.
Yeah, so we haven't ever seen people have their own monetary system in the history of money. So we've seen things like Ithaca bucks and Berkshires for like little cities and towns, but we've never seen people actually have their own monetary system. And this is the grand experiment, right? So can this be as big as video? 20 years ago, it was insane to think about someone having their own channel with millions of followers. Literally insane. In 10 years from now, we're hoping it's pretty common that people have their own monetary system and can upgrade the internet in ways we can't even fathom right now.
Gonna print my own money. We have another question from Trisha. Trisha says, I'm trying to wrap my head around this stuff and the difference between NFTs on one hand and social tokens on the other. Are they kind of the same thing with different end uses? Or am I not getting it? Like, differentiate for Teresa and for the rest of us, NFTs on one side and social tokens on the other.
Awesome. Yeah. So I'll try to explain this as clear as I can. So NFT stands for non-fungible token. What that really means is one token is completely unique and different than another token. So there's a wildly successful NFT project called CryptoPunks. They recently did a bunch of auctions with Christie's and Sotheby's. You guys can check that out. And each CryptoPunk is wildly different and looks wildly different than another CryptoPunk. They're basically sort of JPEG, 8-bit punk characters that you can buy. And so if I wanted to, let's say if you wanted to explore a relationship with something like Visa or a payment system. And so let's say you wanted to do something with Walmart and say, hey, you're going to get one punk back when you buy a towel at Walmart per se. When you do that with a non-fungible token, it's going to matter which punk you get back. They're wildly different. It's almost like getting edition 1 of an album or a Supreme shirt versus getting edition 1,000. Like they're going to be wildly different. But with social tokens, it's completely fungible. So things like Bitcoin, if I were to say, I have one Bitcoin here in the wallet and one Bitcoin here, you're not going to care which Bitcoin you get. They're both the identical same thing. Same thing with Ether, the digital currency that powers Ethereum, which most NFTs are run on. Same thing with gems or any other social token on Roll or sort of anywhere else in the ecosystem. Each gem is identical to another gem, so it can exist as a better form of money that can wrap around any system you use money at. So Shopify, PayPal, Visa, etc. Social tokens work better as a money, a unit of access, than NFTs, which traditionally are considered, collectibles, extensions of, Beanie Babies and, Pokemon and things like this.
Yeah, I mean, and to put it into sort of even more practical terms, if you look behind me, I've got a couple of different paintings here. So I've got like this one up here is, that's a Woody Jackson who did the cow prints for Ben and Jerry's. This one over here is my wife's art, which is really cool. This one over here is an original Pearls from Swine, which is a cartoon comic strip. Each of those are separate and different, just like each CryptoPunk. Whereas if I had a roll of quarters in my hand, you wouldn't mind which quarter I gave you. Every single one of those quarters were exactly the same. So NFTs are the paintings I got here that are all different. Whereas a token, a fungible coin, is like each quarter is the same as every other quarter. Each $100 bill is the same as every other $100 bill, except of course if it's been counterfeited, but let's not go there. But I do actually want to go there because I want to talk about security for a minute, because security is super important. And there've been a lot of, the people's wallets have been hacked and stuff has been stolen. And trust is so important. And so how do you think about security for the stuff that you're building, and indeed for this entire world that we're building?
Yeah, so we really have to think ahead of the curve. A lot of people thought this concept was, very silly, 2 years ago. And why would someone want their own money? And we're reminded of, when people thought when YouTube was silly in '05 or Facebook was silly in, 1999. So we know where things are going. And we have to think of a world in which as many YouTube channels as you see, 30 million channels. We have to think that there'll be a world where there's 30 million different currencies that people can utilize. Some will be similar to YouTube channels, extraordinarily valuable. Others not so much. But in the same way that, let's say, a bank secures its customers' digital assets, let's say Bitcoin, and uses secure storage there, we're actually using an identical system. So we're thinking ahead of the curve. When it comes time for Coachella to create a currency, or some football team, or something like that, it should have the same level of security that a hedge fund uses to secure their Bitcoin with a bank like BNY Mellon, or Goldman Sachs, or sort of one of these entities. So there's a fantastic company called Fireblocks that we use, and Fireblocks literally secures the digital assets of BNY Mellon, the largest holder of digital of wealth in the world. And so if you bank with BNY Mellon and you want them to hold your Bitcoin, it's held with Fireblocks. If you want to create a currency on roll and you want to store it in our system, it's held with Fireblocks. And so we've come to the realization that we won't be the best security company, so we're just going to utilize the best security out there. And so we'll continually do that. If it's not going to be Fireblocks, we'll use something else. But right now, it's definitely Fireblocks.
Yeah, no, that definitely makes sense. I want to lean into something you talked about when you're talking about that. You said, oh, if you're Coachella, or if you're an NFL team, or even VidCon, right? But talk about brands and the way that they are working with you, or they're beginning to work with you, or starting to think about getting into it. I mean, are we going to see an M&M's token, or a Snickers token, or a Patriots token on the football side?
It makes sense, right? Because if you think of the mental model of social currency or social tokens as a digital representation of the brand, you can start to see the history of digital representations of brands all the way from websites to Instagram channels to YouTube channels. Things that people may not have fathomed even a few years before those things came out. So we do see that as an inevitability. The use cases may be a little different, right? So it may be something more familiar in their world. It may be more loyalty points or rewards based. So instead of getting M&M reward points, you may get M&M reward, tokens or currency that could be utilized in interesting ways. So that may be a starter use case. Roll has a unique positioning here, where we mint tokens on behalf of our creators, and then it's theirs. We're in the process of open sourcing this technology as well. So if there's an agency, if there's a platform, and they want to mint tokens for their users, we pretty much see this as the next step. So you may see M&Ms minting tokens for a new launch of a new type of candy, or these types of things, and people can buy, sell, and trade it. So there's many different ways. It'll probably wrap around community in the same way. So the most important concept with social tokens is community. So whatever they do, it should boost community.
All right. So here's a question for you. When I am a fan of the New England Patriots, or of a creator, or something else, or a band, I like to, in many ways, wear that on my sleeve, right? I like to let other people know that I'm a fan, and then I identify with that. And then if I say other people that are similar, we have something in common. If I buy a token, or if somebody buys a gym token, or a token in another creator, how do you then allow the owner of that token to share that with other people, to, because it's a badge in many ways, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So what we're seeing right now is access is the big thing. So that access could be IRL in real life, or that access can be, in a Discord, 100 gyms to get in. Um, so you can create a model where, there's some really awesome Patriots gear, but it's only available for VIP holders. And
Right.
VIP holders in this world may not be people that, just have season tickets or just, have been to this amount of games. You may actually only be eligible to get this, VIP package if you hold a certain amount of Pats, or Patriots
Mm.
currency. And so that's a very clear way that folks can start utilizing, Patriots tokens in that instance, and have a sense of ownership in, the brand or team in this way.
So we only have a couple minutes left. I want to ask you one last question. Think about it for a creator or a brand that wants to get started here. They want to launch a token. They want to build their audience. They want to maybe, create a Discord. Give me 2 tips and a secret to help people who want to get started figure out how to do it. So give me a tip, another tip, and then maybe something people don't know, a little secret about doing it.
Yeah, so we've done this a few hundred times so far. I would say it's pretty similar to launching like an Instagram channel or any sort of social channel. So you'll want to have people that you talk with it about it behind the scenes. Hey, I know this is crazy, but I think it's going to be big. Like, I'm going to create my own currency and use this system called Roll. So it's going to be really simple. I can give it to people. You don't need to know what crypto is really. Just sign in this way. And that's sort of a good way to start. And then when you launch, similar to launching, an OnlyFans or a YouTube channel, et cetera, you have supporters on day one that are going to help spread the word. The other tip there is have a use case. So as soon as you create a currency, people are going to say, "What do I do with this? This is cool, but what do I do with it?" And so we have 2 things you can do. We have a transaction-based system called rewards. So you can go and Roll and you can create a reward. You can say, "Hey, to ask me a question or to, get a shout out or to do any number of these things." And you could pay, it'll be 100 gems. You could set that up easily. Or, you can do that stakeholder model. You can say, "Hey, I'm building a Discord, or I'm a Twitch, I'm a Twitch creator and I already have an awesome Discord. I'm going to have this new channel. It's going to be only for, gym holders there." Something new that I would say, or something unknown, is we haven't talked about this, but there's a growing concept called DAOs, or decentralized autonomous organizations, and so lots of crypto companies become DAOs, and what this means is a lot of the voting decisions that would happen in shareholder meetings can actually happen through internet users, and it happens through folks that hold these tokens. There's no reason why this has to end on the crypto company level. And we're seeing this emerge at the crypto community level. And so if you have a plan and an idea for folks to make decisions in your community through your currency, you will, almost achieve this singularity, right? So you'll get people that are really excited about making those decisions in your world. And you'll get a bunch of crypto people like, "Oh my God, this person's a creator and they understand crypto governance and all this stuff." And they're coming together. And what's so beautiful is it doesn't have to be too crazy. Like, anyone can go on YouTube and see, you could type in "my followers choose my ex," and, followers choose my hair, my food, what I eat today. Like, these can be simple decisions instead of using a poll on Instagram. You could use your currency. And the beautiful thing is that concept we just created, there's no app like that exists. So just goes to show you there's thousands of applications that people are going to create that provide additional utility. And it won't be Roll. We'll stick on the financial, boring, issuance, financial infrastructure side, all the cool apps for streaming and questions and AMAs. Like, we're just going to leave to a bunch of people to do, and we'll support them and plug into them.
Cool. So good stuff. So when you think about launching your coin, think about it like launching a channel, launching a TV program, launching an episode, build that infrastructure in the back end, and then come up with things for people to do and sort of areas with those coins you can do, which is like, do you do it with the rewards and other things there so people can do something once they get it? And then think about the DAO side of it and what a distributed autonomous organization around your channel, around your fan base, what might that look like? So really cool stuff. Bradley, tell me a little bit about, first of all, how can people get to Roll, URL, what's there, and then what's next for you guys and what's next for you and where people can find you if they want to know more.
Yeah, so you could learn more about Roll at www.tryroll.com. You can do tryroll.com/playbook. We wrote this really cool book on all this stuff. Jim and I really just summed up a lot of it. We have our own podcast. So it's Roll Radio. We just interview creators on Roll. So, if you're looking to get more familiar with people that have a currency and how they're using it, that's a great resource. And you could, find me on Twitter. I'm often talking about all this stuff on there. So it's a Bradley_Miles_. And super excited to be here.
Yeah, really cool stuff, Bradley. I really appreciate it. Bradley Miles, the CEO of Roll, super interesting startup. And I can't wait to hear more. I think we're going to chat a little bit at a VidCon upcoming as well. So stay tuned for that. And I got to get started. I got to launch my own gym coin. You've inspired me. We're going to have lots of little gym coins running around, and it's just going to be a perfect world going forward. Bradley, thank you very much for joining us.
Thanks, Jim.